President Trump is on his way back to the U.S. after a two-day summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Speaking aboard Air Force One just moments ago, Mr. Trump discussed some of the flashpoints of the visit.
President Xi and I talked a lot about Taiwan. He thinks he cannot have anything to do with what they're doing. I mean, he's against very much what they're doing. We talked about Taiwan. We talked about Coren a lot. And I think we have a very good understanding with both.
Now, earlier in the day, Mr. Trump received a stately send-off in Beijing. You see him here walking across that red carpet to board Air Force One, surrounded by dignitaries and crowds. Earlier, President Trump said it was an incredible visit, while China's government said it reached, quote, new common understandings with the U.S. Mr. Trump touted progress on trade and shared the desire to end the war in Iran.
I think a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly, become really a friend. We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end.
Now we've got team coverage on all of this for you this Friday morning. Olivia Rinaldi standing by in our Washington, D.C. bureau. But let's begin with CBS News foreign correspondent Anna Coren continuing her reporting in Beijing. Anna, good morning. So lots of talk, lots of words here. But what did the U.S. and China really get out of this summit? And how does what each side has said publicly differ?
Look, Errol, I think the main takeaway from this two-day summit is a stabilization in relations between the two major superpowers. This is really the message from both sides that we have heard consistently. President Xi, today he called it a milestone summit that forged a new bilateral relationship. And a short time ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Beijing posted a photo on X of Air Force One taking off with the caption, "A farewell, also a new beginning." Now, when you think that in previous years there has been deep mistrust, tension and suspicion between the United States and China, through that lens, this has been an incredibly successful summit. The two leaders have been bonding. They've spent a large amount of time together, as have members of their administration. So certainly a step in the right direction. When we talk about agreements or deliverables, well, in that regard, we are lacking, or at least we do not have that information. We heard from President Trump, and he said we've made fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. All we've heard from U.S. officials is that the U.S. have agreed, I should say, China has agreed to buy 200 Boeing jets. Now, that is a lot less than the 500 that was thrown around originally. We also understand that agricultural products and natural gas are part of those purchases as well. But, other than that, really, Errol, we don't have a lot more information to give you. President Trump also saying that they've solved a lot of problems, but no word of rare earth supply or export controls on advanced semiconductors. Now, before I go, I think it's important to note that as President Trump leaves, Russian President Vladimir Putin will be coming to China to meet with Xi to discuss the summit. A date has not been announced, but we understand from an advisor to the Chinese government that it will be next week. Errol.
All right. Interesting to get those details. Anna Coren in Beijing. Anna, thank you. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now from our D.C. bureau. Olivia, good morning. We just heard a few comments there from President Trump aboard Air Force One as he returns to the U.S. What else did he have to say?
Hey, good morning, Errol. Yeah, a lot of news out of this gaggle from the president on Air Force One as he's making his way back to Washington. On Taiwan, you did play a little bit of sound at the beginning of this segment. The president went on to say that what he had the conversation with President Xi about regarding Taiwan and their independence. The president said he doesn't want to fight a war 9,000 miles away when they were talking about a potential conflict over Taiwan if China would decide ultimately to try to take back the island. Also, what I found extremely notable was about the arms sales to Taiwan that the U.S. does. The president said he's going to make a determination over a short period of time about whether the U.S. will continue the arms sales to Taiwan. So extremely notable there, because that would be a major shift in U.S. policy if the U.S. decided, at the request of China, to stop selling arms to Taiwan. So very notable there. The president also said that when Xi Jinping made this pitch about Taiwan and how important it is to China, he said, I heard him out. I didn't make a comment on it. So very notable there. On Iran and a potential deal, the president said he has thrown out a peace proposal, saying that if he looks at the first line of any proposal from the Iranians and finds it insufficient, he has already thrown out that deal. On the Strait of Hormuz, though, we know that these two leaders talked about it. Both sides openly said they talked about it. President Trump on this gaggle said he did not ask any favors of China in trying to reopen the strait, because he said, quote, when you ask for favors, you have to do favors in return. We don't need any favors. Lastly, the point I'll make, the president said they didn't discuss tariffs. That's notable because this was a trade war between the U.S. and China up until last fall, when they announced a détente, essentially when they met in South Korea, about talking about these tariffs that at one point got up to over 150% on products coming from China to the U.S. And they have continued this really tit-for-tat tariff war between the two, just on specific products, not really broad swaths. But President Trump said they did not talk about it. A reporter asked, how come? And President Trump said, well, it just wasn't brought up. So major economic policy not really hammered out. Some foreign policy was discussed. And of course, the president has touted some deals as far as the Boeing jet, saying at one point they did agree to potentially buy up to 750 if 200 planes are bought, delivered, and seen as good for the Chinese economic deal. But certainly very notable that the president saying that they didn't talk about tariffs in this two-day sprint in China.
Very interesting point there, Olivia. Thank you.